Hi there, my name is Zara, and this is the fourth video in our discussion of the characters of Black Butler and seeing how historically accurate their names are. We're looking at F to H today of character names, so please enjoy. Character number 35, former head Trancy. He was the previous head of the Trancy household before Alois Trancy took over. He is described as a depraved and promiscuous man who was infatuated with children. Basically, he's just a paedophile. So yes, he's not particularly the best kind of human being in the world. Alois Trancy was actually one of the children sent to him, and he had basically lots of sex with him. Initially, he rejected Jim Mackin. That was Aloysius Trancy's name before he became Alois Trancy. He was called Jim Mackin. But eventually Jim became his favourite. His first name is never mentioned, and we've already discussed the name Trancy. We're gonna just skip through this character. I don't particularly like him. I fucking hate him, basically. Character number 36, Frances Mitford. She is the sister of Vincent Phantomhive, daughter to Claudia Phantomhive, and aunt to the Ciels. She is also mother to Edward and Elizabeth Mitford. Her swordswoman skills are exceptional, and she continued to train rigorously, even after marrying Alexis Leon Mitford. Elizabeth has likely inherited some of her swordsmanship skills from her mother, because she's also seen to be a very good swordsman as well. The name Frances in Victorian period was generally used as a male name and was very popular, placing between 20 and 30 in all of the 50 years. Frances as a girl's name is spelled Frances rather than the Francis, which is how the male version's normally spelled. The Francis with the E was highly popular in 1886 in America. Character number 37, Fred Aberline. He is a Scotland Yard inspector and is frequently partnered with his superior, Police Commissioner Arthur Randall. In the anime, he has a twin brother, although he originally states in season 1 he actually has no brother, so there's loads of continuous errors throughout the anime. In season 2, his twin brother is revealed to replace Fred's position after he died at the end of season 1. In the manga, there has been no discussion of Fred Aberline having any siblings, although it might be revealed they're waiting to show still. It would also make sense that he is a twin, as he seems to have a special connection with the other CL. I think him being a twin would... there seems to be like a special connection between him and the other CL. And if he's also a twin, he can be like, oh yes, I understand the problems of being a twin. The name Frederick was highly popular in the Victorian period. It was also a very popular name used within the royalty. Victoria had an uncle Frederick who died in 1827. Also in 1855, Victoria's first daughter, also called Victoria, married Frederick, the German emperor. So Frederick's just generally used throughout royalty, and also that leads to it being used throughout general population. When I was doing my research, I was actually surprised also to find out that Frederick Aberline was an actual inspector who investigated the Jack the Ripper murders. The manga doesn't go into a lot of details about his personal life, so basically couldn't go too badly wrong. The actual guy was born in 1843, so he is around 45 years old when the manga happens. However, to me, the manga, he looks like he's 20 or something. He looks much younger. And he's just starting his career as investigator when he was actually an inspector. So I don't know the difference between those. What's the difference between being an inspector and an investigator? But yeah. In the anime, that's where the history just goes to complete shit. It just takes a dog part on it and just rips up everything that was possibly historically accurate. In the first season of the anime, he's betrothed and his fiancée is pregnant. He also talks about being an orphan on the streets and not having any other siblings. So why do we begin with all this? First of all, he had been married twice by 1880, which is when the first of the Jack the Ripper murders happened. The first time he was married to Martha Magnus in March 1868, but she died 2 months later due to tuberculosis, the famous disease that I was talking about with the other CLs, which took a lot of people. The second time he was married to Emma Beaumont in 1876. In neither marriages did he have any children. His mother single-handedly raised him, his 2 sisters and his brother after his father had died in 1849. So he wasn't an orphan. He had his mother. He had 3 siblings. So it's just all completely incorrect. I'm just, like, honestly, if you get this wrong, he's my favourite character, I'm going to get fucking pissed. And then the fact that it also turns out he was actually a historical person makes me love him even more. You don't fuck him up because he's my favourite character. The anime even gets even more ridiculous in season 2. He says he has no siblings, then his twin brother appears. I don't know if they were like trying to pretend that he hadn't actually died in the first place, and I don't know. It just doesn't make sense why they brought his twin into it, because they never discuss it in the manga. Yeah, so his twin brother Edward turns up. Historically, he did actually have a brother called Edward, but I don't know if they actually knew that at the time. And I don't know if they were actually twins. I don't think it would be likely, because if you think about twins today, it occurs more often because of higher fertility rates and everything. Victorian times, it was very, very unlikely. Like, you don't see many people having twins at that time. So I don't think they would have actually been twins. Also, Frederick is historically the youngest, and Edward is actually meant to be older than him. But in the anime, Frederick seems like he's the older brother and Edward's the younger, because Edward seems so immature and is just stuffing his face with food, whereas Frederick is very focused on trying to get the crimes done, like trying to find out who's done it, and he seems a lot more professional, basically. Character number 38, Gregory Violet. He is a former student of Western College and was the head of the Purple House. As head of his house, he swore to uphold the traditions of the school's self-government with pride. This was jeopardized when Derek Arden was murdered by Herman Greenhill, another head of house, in front of several witnesses. Gregory blocked the door to prevent the other witnesses leaving so that Herman could kill them, to supposedly maintain the pride of their school. The name Gregory was most popular in the 1950s. It was not popular at all during the Victorian period. Interestingly, the name Gregory is actually tied with Benedict as the second most popular name for popes. The most popular name for popes is John. So yeah, that's just a little side note. The surname Violet is found in Kent, where their family had a seat as lords of the manor. The name is Anglo-Saxon, which declined in use after the Battle of Hastings in 1066, but it did continue to be used. Character number 39, Grimsby Keene. He is a theatre producer and was previously in a relationship with Irene Diaz. He appears in Volume 5 during the murder arc when he is visiting the Phantom Hive Manor alongside other visitors, including Arthur Conan Doyle. It has been suggested that Grimsby was named after Dr. Grimsby Roylott, a fictional character featured in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Dr. Grimsby appears in The Adventure of the Speckled Band, where Sherlock Holmes is asked by Grimsby's stepdaughter, Helen Stoner, to investigate her sister's mysterious death. The name does not appear within the list of popular Victorian names, but obviously it was around if Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was using it. The name Keene is an anglicised form of Gaelic, meaning descendant of Caithan. Character number 40, Harold West Jebb. He is a trader in Indian goods. He runs a general store called Harold Trading and a coffee house called Harold West. He blackmails Agni so that he will compete in the curry competition so that he can win a royal warrant from Queen Victoria. In the manga, it seems he was killed by Ram Mal. However, in the anime, he's left alive, which is kind of a strange, but I don't know why they didn't kill him in the anime. I mean, they've done other stuff in the animes. Like, they had a paedophile in the second season, so I don't understand why they didn't do that. The name Harold was extremely popular after 1880. The surname Jeb is of Anglo-Saxon origin and means son of Geoffrey. So, conclusion time. This is the end of the video. I'm very happy to talk about Frederick Aberlane because he is one of my favourite characters in the Black Butler series. I'm really happy that he's still alive in the manga. When he died in the anime, I was really worried they were going to kill him off in the manga. And I was like, no, please, I love him. Yes, I've had a weird obsession with the name Frederick since I was very young. And I just love any characters called Frederick. You can tell the Harry Potter series were probably very upsetting for me because Fred dies in that. And to be honest, the characters called Fred always seem to die in books and everything I watch and everything I read, and I get very upset about it. And I'm just sat there, I'm like, why do the Freds have to die? Why? Yes. Character number 41, Henry Barrymore. He is the mayor of the village of Houndsworth. He is only present in season 1 of the anime. He used a folklore about a demon hound to terrify the people of his village. However, it turns out actually that the hound was actually real, and the real hound actually kills him and rips him to shreds because he's not happy about his folklore was used to make sure he could kill someone else. The name Henry was extremely popular in the Victorian period and sits comfortably in the top 50 names throughout the 50-year period. His surname, Barrymore, was first found in Cork in the Kingdom of Desmond in Ireland. It's located on the southwest coast of Ireland in the province of Munster. Character number 42, Herman Greenfield. He was a student of Western College and head of the greenhouse. He is a dignified man who excels at sports and takes up the hobby of improving his own strength by weightlifting during his free time. He is also very strict on his subordinates and expects them to live up to his expectations. In the public school arc, it is revealed that when he was at school, he killed Derek Arden and helped the other heads of the house to cover it up by killing everyone that was present, except from the heads of the house. The name Herman becomes popular in 1890. The Ciels were born in 1875, and Herman is older than them, so obviously he got his name basically before it was popular. But it doesn't mean that it's completely impossible to have happened. His surname Greenfield is a habitational name, as there are many places in England with this name. Character number 43, Hyhem. He is a royal cook and is one of the 3 judges of the curry festival. When he first sees the curry bun that Sebastian created for the competition, he thinks it's a joke. However, he's very surprised to find out it tastes amazing and ends up voting in favour of the Funton Corporation gaining the royal warrant. The surname dates back to Anglo-Saxon period and means in or besides an enclosed region. And it was found in Norfolk at Hayham Potter, a parish in the 100 of Happing. Character number 44, Irene Diaz. She is an esteemed opera singer and actress. After she and Grimsby Keen separated, she began dating Julius Pitt. Her first introduction is in volume 9, when she is part of a murder mystery at the manor. Irene is likely a reference to Irene Adler, an opera singer in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Many people seem to think that Irene Adler is like the only love of Sherlock Holmes. However, that's not fucking correct. I get so fucking annoyed. Her original introduction by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, there was no romance intent. Sherlock is just meant to be amazed that this woman's basically figured out what he's trying to do and just decides to leave. She appears in A Scandal of Bohemia, where the King of Bohemia pays for Sherlock Holmes and Watson to steal a photograph back from her. She escapes when she realises Sherlock will not stop until he gets the photograph. To divert his attention, she leaves a photograph of herself with a message for Sherlock explaining basically what the king has done wrong to her and how she needs to have this photo to basically defend herself. Watson refers to her regularly as the woman, and this is meant to basically praise her cleverness, not say not be like, oh, look, she's your girlfriend now. Like, you know, I get so annoyed. A man can admire a woman and not think sexually about them. The story of the scandal in Bohemia was published in 1891. The name Irene became popular in 1880. The surname Diaz comes from the Latin for day and is also suggested to have Jewish origins. The surname can also be patronymic, as it also means son of Diego. Character number 45, James. He is a dog trainer who lives in the village of Houndsworth. He has 6 dogs. In the village, there's a rule that you can only have actually 5 dogs. So the mayor, Henry Barrymore, has him killed and blames it on the demon hound. James was a very popular name throughout the Victorian period, staying in the number 5 spot from 1850 to 1900s. Character number 46 is Jane. She is a former security guard and maid for hire at Heathfield Manor. She was hired on the basis of her killing skills and paid extraordinarily well for her to pose as a maid at Heathfield Manor, so that no one would learn of the blood collecting operation happening in the basement. She agrees to help Mayrin and Ranmau stop the operation and calls Scotland Yard. The name Jane was very popular in the Victorian period. Character number 47, Joanne Agres. He is the vice headmaster and often has to do the work of the headmaster, who is regularly absent. It is revealed he was actually killed on the same day as Derek Arden and made into a bizarre doll. It is possible he is named after Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a German author and poet who wrote Faust, written in 1808, a play in which a man forms a contract with a demon. His surname Agres is the name of a demon described in various demonological grimoires, who teaches languages, stops and retrieves runaway peoples, causes earthquakes and grants noble titles. The surname is not very popular today, which suggests it wasn't actually around in the Victorian period. Character number 48, Joanne Harcourt. He is a second-year student at Western College and is part of the Red House, classified by his gentility. He is deemed a liar by a majority of the students and possesses low self-esteem. He has a fragile temperament and easily bursts into tears. In the Victorian period, the name Joanne was seen as a female name. If this was going to be more accurate, he would more likely have a name such as John, Joseph, Jonathan, Joshua, or Josiah, which were all very popular at the time. The surname Harcourt is of Norman origin and is a habitational name from places in Eure and Calvados in France. There are also 2 places in Shropshire with the name. Character number 49, John Brown. He is based on a real servant to Queen Victoria, who was a favourite of hers. The real John Brown, however, died in 1883. All of this manga is set after 1883. It started in 1888, I think. So yeah, so he should be dead. John was a gillie, a shooting guide, and gun loader for Victoria. He became highly resented due to his favouritism, particularly by Victoria's son and heir, Edward, later known as Edward VII. In the manga, he is the Queen Victoria's aide and one of her private secretaries. However, he never held that position historically. He was just a servant. Joker. He is part of the Circus Ark and is the leader of the Noah's Ark Circus. He is born without a right arm, and the doctor, who we previously mentioned, gives him a prosthetic arm. At Baron Kelvin's manor, he acts as his butler, and he is horrified when he finds out that his prosthetic limb is actually made from bones of children. His left arm is cut off by Sebastian in their fight, and he dies due to blood loss. The name Joker obviously wasn't popular in Victorian times, but his background growing up, it makes sense for an orphan child to be like, oh, you're Joker because you're funny. So yeah, it just generally makes sense. His mother was called Karen Taylor. Karen was not a popular name in Victorian times, just as it is not today. However, her surname is highly popular in England. It is a Norman occupation surname, which means cutter in Old French. So my conclusion for today. There's quite a lot of characters that seem to be based somewhat on history, but they just seem to do away with the history and then completely collapse it, and it's very frustrating when they do that. I like John Brown. I don't understand why they could have had a nice little mention to him. They could have had other CL No just recall him from the past or something. They didn't need to have him there. the fact he turns up in the curry competition and he bobs up a thing that's like to cheer up Victoria, and he's like, oh, don't worry, so Albert's here because look, there's a thing with him. Oh, it's just ridiculous. It really is frustrating. It seems to make fun of her depression that she's having after her husband Albert died. I know she was grieving for a very long time, but it was very normal in Victorian times to grieve for a very long time. And she had a lot of family members die around the same time as Albert. She had her mother die just before him. So, you know, I don't know. I don't like how they make fun of Queen Victoria. It really irks me. And the fact that they can't get the servants or the private secretaries right with the time period. Why don't you just find the correct one that was actually at the time period? It doesn't make sense. I know you want the two Charleses. And maybe, yeah, John's great, but you know, yeah, it's just so frustrating. I understand they wanted to make it like really Victorian times and like be like, oh yeah, we've got all of the historical figures here. There seems to be a recurring factor. They keep giving female names to male characters or male names to female characters. They don't seem to understand. I think this is just generally like a language barrier where the Japanese don't realize that there's actually different names for female names and different names. Like Francis, there's a different way of spelling it if you want to spell it as a female name to a male name. And like Joanne, you'd never normally call a man Joanne. Like, I don't know any man called Joanne. It just doesn't make sense why no one would put their son Joanne. By giving him a female name, they're probably trying to make him seem like more of a female. Because they're trying to say that he's got the emotions of a female because he cries all the time. But men can cry, you know, fuck that. Oh, it's just further stereotyping women, further stereotyping men should be manly. Women are the ones that burst into tears. They should be cute and adorable. This is the major problem they have with the fucking anime and the manga. Is that women should be adorable and cute. They easily break and tell people what's happening. It's just frustrating. I mean, we haven't had that with Ren Mao or Mei Lin yet, but like, they barely talk, you know? I hate how emotional they make all the women of the characters. It's very annoying. It's very frustrating. I mean, Beast basically sexually assaulted while she's very depressed by Sebastian. No one's like, oh, she was used when she was very vulnerable and very upset because Joker just said, no, I don't want to be with you. Character 51 is Julius Pitt. He is an actor at Haymarket who is currently in a relationship with Irene Diaz. He has to keep his romance a secret in fear of bad publicity, since he is part of a rival theatre company. He shares his last name, funny enough, with another character in the manga, but it's unclear whether they're actually related. The name Julius is very popular in 1850 to 1880. Character number 52, Jumbo. He is part of the Circus Ark and is a fire breather of the Noah's Ark Circus. He encompasses the role of the voice of reason among the circus members. He's very calm and level-headed and is not prone to showing his emotions. He may have been named after a large African bush elephant who lived in zoos in Paris and London. In March 1881, the elephant Jumbo was sold to P.T. Barnum. He's the main character in The Greatest Showman. Barnum bought him from London Zoo and Jumbo became part of the American circus. Character 53, Carl Woodley. He is the president of the Woodley Company, a diamond polishing company, and he appears in the murder arc at Phantom Hive Manor. Ciel and another diamond company are meant to be collaborating, which would have damaged Carl's business. As a result, he murders Mr. Rose, the owner of the diamond company, and plans to murder the other Ciel. Carl is a popular name in 1890 and 1900. His surname Woodley is a habitational name from Woodley in Devon and Woodley in Berkshire. In Old English, it means wood clearing. Character 54, Baron Kelvin. He is a philanthropist and creator and patron of the Noah's Ark Circus. He is referred to as father by Joker, Beast, Dagger, Peter, Wendy, Jumbo, and Joel, as he rescued them and provided a home for them at Remborn Workhouse. 5 years before the events of the manga, he met Vincent Phantomhive and the two Ciels and unearthed the aristocrats of evil, which he thought only beautiful people could be part of. Consequently, he underwent numerous plastic surgeries performed by Doctor at the expense of his legs in an attempt to become more and more beautiful. His wife was disgusted with his obsession and left him, but he's like, I do not care. I just want to be more beautiful. At some point, Kelvin decided to hand over the children that were at the workhouse so they could be fashioned into prostheses out of their bones. So Joker, Dagger, and Beast, who all have prostheses, actually are wearing the bones of the workhouse children they used to live with, which is, it's very bad. I don't think they fully realised how bad when they were talking about that was. Upon receiving the news that the Phantom High family were killed, Kelvin became distraught and thought that his life no longer had a purpose. This was until a cultist visited him and informed him the twins were still alive and were going to be used for sacrifice. He was really upset that he wasn't able to go to the sacrifice because he'd just recently undergone surgery and he had to be in bed for a month. Due to this, he basically wanted to recreate the sacrifice where the real CL had died, and he went to massive lengths to make sure that it looked perfect. He recreated the arena in a 3-year project and made sure the cages were all correct, and then got the other CL to come by making the Noah's Ark kidnap children so that it would grab his attention as the Queen's watchdog. At the sight of the chamber, the other CL basically orders Sebastian to kill Baron Kelvin, the Doctor, and Joker, and then just proceeds to burn down the whole manor with the kids still inside because he's like, well, they're broken, we can't fix them. The surname Kelvin originates from Celtic in the 13th century Scotland, meaning a narrow or wooded river. There is a river called Kelvin in Ireland. Historically, the first Baron Kelvin was William Thompson. He was an engineer at the University of Glasgow. He created the unit of measurement, a Kelvin, which is used to measure temperature. He was born in Belfast in 1824 and died in Scotland in 1907. So they've basically got the Baron Kelvin completely fucking incorrect. Character 55, Lawrence Bluer. He is a former student of Weston College and was head of the Blue House. He is part of a group of heads of houses who are trying to hide up that they killed Derek Arden and then his friends and also Joe and Agnes. When the school eventually finds out all of this, they are expelled. With this action, they realise they cannot undo their actions and they decide to start regularly attending peer music meetings where they talk and befriend many people. The name Lawrence starts very low in the rankings of popular Victorian names in 1850, but it slowly becomes more popular over the 50 years. His surname Bluer, I can find no reference to. I don't think it's a usable name. Character number 56, Luca Mackin. He is the younger brother of Jim Mackin. Jim just basically wants to kill everyone in the village because they're being horrible and mean to them. In pursuit of this, Luca decides to willingly sacrifice his soul for the consumption of Anna Fellows. He is only shown in season 2 of the anime. Luca was not a popular name in the Victorian period, but Luke is. The name Luke decreases in popularity over 50 years, starting at 66 and going down to 182. Character number 57, Margaret Connor. She was killed in an accident at 17 years old and had her soul collected by Ronald Knox, the Grim Reaper. 2 weeks later, her corpse was experimented on by the Aurora Society and she was made into a bizarre doll. Her parents, overjoyed at seeing her alive again, mother, Sahana Connor, embraces her. Margaret, though, doesn't realise it's her mother and kills her by biting her on the neck. She is only killed for a second time when Knox comes in and smashes her head in with a death scythe. The name Margaret stays in the top 11 over 50 years. The surname Connor is Irish and has several meanings, including wolfkin, lover of wolves, and lover of hounds. Character number 58, Margaret Turner. She is the wife of Mr. Turner, the owner of Turner's Photographs. Over the years, Margaret started to gain weight and became angrier and angrier, as her husband barely showed her any affection. This resulted in her beginning to despise him taking photos of happy couples. Cloud Faustus approaches her and equips her with a special camera which ignites magnesium oxide when it's flashed. The fire is so strong it burns away the souls of the victims as well. Margaret is only shown in the anime season 2. Her surname Turner is an occupational surname for someone who would have worked with a lathe to make items of wood, bone, or metal. The name derives from the Old French tournée. Margaret's first victim is a woman called Ellen. Ellen's name is very popular in the Victorian period, remaining in the top 15. Character number 59. Maria. She is the fiancée of Fred Aberline, a Scotland Yard officer. Fred proposes to her when she becomes pregnant. She only appears in the anime in season 1, the 2 episodes. The last time we see her is after Fred's death, when other CL leaves her a rather large pile of toys from his company for her unborn child and a letter explaining what's happened to her fiancé, because he's dead at this point. The name Maria starts off very popular in 1850 and over 50 years becomes less and less popular. I think it's important to note that there are a lot of characters in this list that are from the anime, and I have a sneaky suspicion that the anime just threw away historical accuracy and that it's far less accurate than the actual manga, because the manga seems to try and be a bit more accurate, even if it still shits on it a bit. I mean, especially like the season 2 anime, it just threw everything to the wall and just was like, hope it stick, and it butchered the manga. It just butchered it. It didn't even follow the manga at all. It just kind of swerved off in its own path and was like, oh, it was like they gave them 2 options. You can go this way, which is where the manga's going, or you can go off in your own direction, and you'll have to make up the whole story yourself. And you'd think the story that's already pre-made would be a lot easier to follow, and because people know what they're getting then. But no, they decided to go swerving off and fucking destroyed season 2 with Aloise Trancy and everything. And oh my god, they didn't think of how problematic it would be, and they butchered that season. It was awful. It was horrendous. And they shat on history. That fucking London fire, and I'm going to be talking about that at some point. I am going to be talking about the fire of London that supposedly happened. It's so fucking shit. Like season 2. Eventually, I want to kind of do an investigation on how the anime differs from the manga in terms of accuracy, and then look at the different seasons and how they compare, because I think that would be quite interesting. I haven't yet got Book of Murder, or there's another. I haven't got any of season 3 because it hasn't come out in my country yet. So once that eventually comes out, I think it'd be quite interesting to look at how the anime compares to the manga. The manga seems to go more closely with the history than the anime. Anyway, have a good day. Take care. Goodbye.